Welcome to the Seattle Sports Union Podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back again with the Soulman, Brian Solack. And once again, we have our very special guest, Dave the Groz. Grosby, welcome back, Groz.
Always a pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank
We're
you.
so excited to have you back here again. We've got so many questions. We've been looking for the expert of all things Seattle to return and tell us how it is.
I'll do what I can, but I don't know who that is.
You're the expert of all Seattle sports. Always have been, always will be.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Thank you.
Let's start off with some positive news. Ichiro got voted into the Hall of Fame this week. What are your thoughts, Groz?
It just reminded me what a tremendous surprise he was. I mean, that's really the thing I think that sticks out to me is the Mariners had been. It was Alex had left, Ernie Johnson had left before that, Griffey had left. I mean, it was over. We all knew this Lou Piniella era was going to come to an end, probably in a year or two. But maybe they'll have a little flicker here. And I remember being down there in spring training and Lou trying to kind of figure out what Ichiro was exactly. He was a singles hitter, but didn't really seem to know what he could be. None of us really did. And then, he started, and I like everyone else, think that he had already shown he could hit major league pitching, I thought, immediately. I thought we really realized that in a couple of days that he was going to be a good hitter. But the throw, of course, to Terrence Long, throwing out Terrence Long in like the 6th or 7th game in Oakland was the aha moment for a lot of people. Like, wait a minute, this guy is something really special. And then, the Mariners have this miracle season. Just unbelievable. I remember with Rick Riz in June when they're up, 20 games over 500 already, and they're up by 20 games, it felt like. And just saying, Rick, only one guy really knows what this is like, or one manager, that's Sparky Anderson, because the Reds did this back in the Big Red Machine days. And Rick actually called on the phone right then and talked to him. So, I mean, it was the Mariners were really the star of the baseball world the year Ichiro got here, and he was a fascinating player to watch, a fascinating player to cover, frustrating at times as well, but an absolute unbelievable ball player. And the fact that he had 3,000 hits in the American League starting at age 27 is just remarkable. And I think it was fitting that he went to the Hall of Fame. I think we're making too much of a deal, unfortunately, these days about unanimous, because I would say it's already ruined by Mariano Rivera, but it's Rivera, so I mean it doesn't matter anymore. He only missed by one vote, which is fine. I mean, I think his speech will be great. As I understand it, I think I saw an interview with Bob Costas a day or two ago. He's going to do a speech in English, which is something that he could always do, apparently. And so it was a great time. I mean, it was really, unfortunately, you think of the last great Mariner teams, and with an exception maybe to the Mariners 2 years ago. I mean, you think of those teams. You think of Ichiro's team in 2001, 2002. It'd really be the last great Mariner teams.
I was curious if you ever sat back and thought about before Ichiro got here, there were a lot of naysayers and just trying to reconcile 24 years later. Was there a uncomfortable, soft racism going on at the time, or was it just a lot of doubt for other reasons? I'm still trying to remember back that far and what.
I don't get a sense that it was the soft racism at all, because we've always had a large Asian community here in Seattle, and I didn't think there was that. I think there was just, how is this guy possibly going to do anything special? I mean, not one hitter has come over from Japan and done anything. I mean, we had Kazuhiro Sasaki, of course, who was a great closer, and you knew other guys could pitch, but you're letting Alex Rodriguez go, and you let the other guys go, and this is the guy you're replacing him with, a guy who has never taken an at-bat in the major league. So I think it was that more than anything else. And then I think, by the halfway point of the season, that ended. And what you're talking about may have been something that happened a little bit later on when Ichiro, seemingly wouldn't adjust the way he played. He wanted to bat him a third. He didn't want to do it. And people kind of, I think there was some thoughts there that, he was doing things differently because, he was different. There was some racism involved in that. I think that may have been true a little bit later on in his career here, but not the first year, no.
Right on. One thing I thought about was at the time, how can we have an opinion if we've never seen a position player come over?
Yeah.
A lot of
Right.
I thought there was just a bunch of jumping to conclusions.
I think there was too, and it was kind of puzzling that there hadn't been a position player yet that would come over and done well, and so it was. It obviously opened the doors for everyone, and made everyone believe. I think should have made all of baseball believe that the brand of baseball they're playing in Japan is just as good as it is here. Maybe not as deep, maybe not as thick with talent, but the best Japanese players are as good as the best American players. I mean, that was something that became obvious during his first year, and then. Was it 4 years later? He breaks George Sisler's record, 262 hits, breaks a record set in 23 or something like that. So, he was really a unique, special player. I'm just sorry they didn't have a good team and a good circumstance surrounding him for most of his career here, just for the first couple of years.
Well,
Although I should say one last thing. Was it 08 or 09 when Griffey came back? That was a pretty special year. That they both got carried off the field, I think, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And that was fun. So I mean, there was some special stuff that happened a little bit later on, but it was a little disappointing that he never really got to play more in the playoffs.
Definitely. Will my wife and I see you on the streets of Cooperstown this summer?
I don't think so, but boy, I envy you, Brian. It's a great trip. Have you made it before?
We went for Edgar and for Griffey.
Oh, so I mean, I went and saw Edgar go in, and it was excuse me. The first one I went to, Niehaus went in. So when he went to the broadcasters wing, we went, and it's just such an amazing experience, as you know. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere. You literally drive on a 2-lane street, and if you don't know, I remember we had one of those little GPS things in our car, and a rent-a-car that was speaking. They were saying that you're 500 feet away from your final destination. And I'm like, we're in the woods. I don't see it. How can that be? And then you see that building, and the first thing that strikes you, I think, is how small it is.
Yeah.
And then you get into it, and you see how special it is. And then that whole area, as you experienced, it just feels like the heart of baseball. I mean, it really does. Niehaus usually quoted a great line there. I forget who he was quoting, but he said, "If baseball wasn't invented here, it should have been." I thought that was a terrific line, and it really is a special place. And it'll be. I bet there'll be a huge crowd for him going in. And it'll be a very, very fun experience. So I'm envying you, Brian. You guys are gonna have a great time.
Definitely, thank you. Real quick about 08, when you were back there for Niehaus, my older brother met you on the streets, and he just said you were very nice, and you guys chatted for a few minutes, and I just wanted to give you a shout out for that.
I appreciate that. It's nice. I'll try and be nice.
Okay, let's see if you can be nice about this next question, Groz. What are the chances of King Felix getting in, as I am one of his biggest fans?
He has a chance. I mean, he definitely has a chance. I think it was important that he got 20%. Now he can get on that rolling sort of thing. I think it'll take him the maximum amount of time. I would imagine it'll be a decision that's made for him. I think by his 10th year. I don't think he'll have to go veterans. I think he'll get in. Wish he'd had a better last couple of years. I mean, obviously, but perfect game. Some of the couple of seasons that he put together were just off the charts remarkable. And so I think he's got I would say at the end of the day is probably a little less than 50-50, but just a little less. I think he's got a even money chance to make it.
Gotcha. It just bugs me that similar to Edgar, they always use him as the comparison to get into the Hall of Fame, but he's not. He's not in it.
Say what? I say it again.
Oh, just like Edgar, they always use Felix as the benchmark to get into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
It's like, but if that's the bar, then why isn't he in?
You're right. Absolutely right. I think he gets in, just because the way of pitching is changing too. I mean, his accomplishments are going to stand out a little bit more as time goes on, because we don't have a lot of and. See, I mean, just thinking out loud here, over the next 10 years, I mean, Verlander will retire and he'll go into the Hall of Fame. You have a handful of guys, but not that many that will go in first round, very few. So I would expect that Felix will get in there.
Is that because they don't pitch full games anymore?
I think so. I mean, I think that's not even close. I mean, it's I'm not going to be surprised to see as teams are changing the way they're approaching the game these days. But we see the end of the era of starting pitcher completely. I mean, where you just have a guy who starts the game for you. He's not considered a starter or anything more important than that. He just goes one time through the rotation. We're already seeing that in some places. I
Yep.
imagine the way they're doing, they take care of arms and things like that. That's what they're going to do in the future. So I think that's a money issue as well. So I do think that the pitching marks that we're seeing now are not going to be challenged. I mean, I just don't.
Right.
Okay. Speaking of that, Mariners management, I pretty much think the entire state of Washington is frustrated with Mariners management. Does the ownership even hear us? I mean, what's going on with that, Groz?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, it's tough for me because I like those guys. I like them personally, but to answer your question, I think everyone in Seattle as a Mariners fan should be pissed off. I think this is just a waste of an opportunity. And go ahead and make me look bad and make the playoffs this year. That would be great. But this is the third year now. You've had this marvelous pitching staff put together, and if you added some offense to it, free agency, don't trade away your best players to add more players. Use free agency to do it. You'd win. And if you win, and we saw what it was like when they got in 2 years ago, when Cal Raleigh got him in, and you got past the first round, got into the second round, excitement, enthusiasm, everyone was in.
Yep.
And you squandered it, you blew it, you didn't keep up the momentum, and now you're trying to convince people that you're doing anything but that. I mean, it's an off season that unless, and I think this is a 1,000,000 to 1 shot, unless they're actually going to sign an Alonso or Bregman. There's nothing there that's going to happen. I mean, the free agent they signed is, apologies, a joke. That's not a guy that's going to make a difference on your team.
No.
Full on. He's not going to improve your win total or anything like that. So, and look, the odds are, I mean, I hate to say this, the odds are 1 or 2 of those pitchers are going to be out for the season in years to come. I mean, guys get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really frustrated in that. I think that they have been blowing the opportunity. And it's really unfortunate, and I can understand Mariners fans' frustration with it. I mean, I stopped streaming the games. I mean, I went away from it from that point. I'm not alone in doing that. It's just been really, really frustrating to watch them, and I'm at a loss for why they're doing it, because anything we learn about Seattle and know about Seattle is that if you win, people are there.
Yeah.
If you win, people will support this team beyond belief on every single level. And you, by the way, if you're an owner, you make your money when you sell the team. The Mariners, I think, what did he pay for the team, Stan, at this point? Like, I mean, it's probably worth 5 times more than what he paid for it.
Yeah.
So that's when you make your money as an owner. So to not be willing to lose a little money, to not be willing to add free agents to your team, to not be willing to excite your fan base is criminal. So I just think it's terrible. And I really, like I said, it sounds funny to say that after saying I really like these guys, but personally, I do like them a lot. I do not like how Jerry Dipoto is running this team at all.
Are they risk averse? Are they cheap? Are they
not risk averse?
Okay,
cheap. They don't want to lose money. Apparently, I mean, it's looking at it year by year. We're not going to lose any money, and I do not understand that. As I've said before, you make all your money in a pro sports team when you sell it at the end of the day, and it's mind blowing to me. Like, look at the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers, if they were losing money, and they might have, the Mets did last year. But, I mean, the Dodgers, if losing money, would still go out and spend the money they're spending. The Padres, how about using them as a better example? Where a smaller market in Seattle even, they've spent big money because they believe that their fan base will come out, will support them, and they'll be able to continue that and maintain that for a while. And they're right. They can. And just to not have it happen here is just beyond belief to me. It's just really frustrating. And I don't know where the disconnect is in that front office, but there is one in there. And it's serious. And again, if they backdoor their way into the playoffs or luck their way into the playoffs this year, that'll be fine. Won't feel bad about it or anything like that. But it's not the same as taking advantage of a circumstance that may not present itself for you ever again. How long the Mariners been around now, closing on 50 years, and have they ever had 4 or 5 pitchers like this? Never. So I mean, you're blowing the maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity here, and for reasons I can't understand.
Agreed. You mentioned Dipoto. I mean, he's done a great job with our farm system, and obviously knows what pitching is. But has he made a decent trade? I mean, what else has he done? And the last part of this is, do you think he's going to survive the season?
Unless they go 20 games under 500 and scapegoat him, he'll probably make the season. Okay. I think he's done a great job in the draft as well. I think there's a little bit tricky there because when you're a general manager, you've got a couple of jobs, and one of them is also putting people in the stands. But he's got to take the lumps for ownership. When ownership comes up and says something like, "We're not spending any more money. We're taking it down $20 million." You got to go. You're the one who's got to go out there and put a smiley face on it. So I mean, that may be happening as well. But he has done. I mean, look, to me, he strikes me. My view is that he's a good minor league farm system director. I mean, he'd be very good at that job because he's exceptionally good at locating talent like that. I have not been impressed with many of his trades. I don't think anyone has. But I don't know if it's because they're pushing back on him too hard, or he just doesn't have the wherewithal. I mean, he's got the wherewithal. He's been around for a long enough time. Yeah. So I just don't know if ownership's the one that's stopping him or not. But it's 9-10 years in. You got to look at the results, and the results have not been there. He's a guy who's a good farm system manager, but not a quality general manager, in my opinion, especially in terms of putting together veterans that can win.
I can't help but think, Groz, that there's something wrong, that there's something broken with the Mariners, or actually the MLB in general, but specifically the Mariners seem to be capitalizing on I guess it's a loophole where you can hold players like our pitching staffs at below market value for several years. Julio Cal, and those kind of guys they got arbitration as far as they got a little bit more pay, but really, it seems like the MLB rewards the Mariners for not taking action.
And I don't understand. You mean, how do they reward them?
Oh, in so much that they're holding guys like our pitchers, and Cal at below market value.
You're talking about the rules that you're talking about something different there. That's the Players Association's negotiations with.
That's more on the
MLB
players.
about okay. They negotiate the terms of their deal, so they have it now with the 3-year. I think the way it's set up is 3 years, and then 3 years of arbitration, and you're a free agent after 6 years. So that's collectively bargained.
Okay.
So I mean,
we won't see that change for a while.
I don't think so. I mean, unless let's not even say it, but I've heard some whispers that they're talking about, not like maybe that's going to come up in front of the next deal. Baseball still is doing a lot of stuff wrong, I think. But no, this is one where the players have negotiated that. Now, look, it was, Julio was an aggressive move. I mean, you got to like that. Now, I like that aggressive move, but did he show enough to be a guy like that? That you should, you can forget about the 4 or 5 years of bargain. Let's just pay this guy because he's going to be our future. Mm-hmm. And he had a struggle last year. So I mean, that's the big decision, because if you get that one wrong, you got to live with it for a long time. So I don't think they did yet. I think the jury's still out on Julio. I think he's shown us what he can be, and I think probably what he will be. But I do think that is a risky move for a lot of teams to do it, and that's what they're seeing him do now is trying to pay off those arbitration years early and just get some payback at the back end of things.
Right.
Will we sign Cal Raleigh to a long-term contract?
That's the question, man. That is absolutely the question, Brian. That's the one. That's the one thing that I think you'll really see what they're all about. Cal Raleigh is potentially. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. He's potentially the best catcher in the game, and he's improved every year. His offense is terrific. His defense is getting better. He's a leader. He has everything you're looking for in that position, in that player. I don't know what they're waiting for, frankly, but I do think that's the true acid test. I mean, if they don't sign him, then what are we doing here? Yeah. But I would think that's got to be their number one priority with the team that they have here, because, like I said, there aren't guys like Cal Raleigh out there. There just aren't, and I don't think they project him to be as good a hitter as he is. But I mean, he's really taking a great step there. So he's talking about one of the top 2 or 3 catchers in the game right now. So I would hope that they're going to pay him, and pay him soon.
Right on.
Hey, Groz, wait, to your point, there's rumors of a lockout or a strike or what have you. Do you think that ends the new evil empire in the Dodgers? Do you think that something's going to have to break at some point?
In terms of money, they go on strike?
Yeah. Maybe they put in a salary cap or a salary floor or both.
I think what players are trying to do is just get rid of all that stuff, and it's I imagine it's going to be the same old argument. It's going to be tough for me to see people having a lot of. And normally, look, I mean, I've covered so many of these over the years. It's been such a long time, but in every previous negotiation, in my opinion, the players were right and the owners were wrong. And they're pretty much found out to be that way when they ventured into the courts and did things like that. So I think that the owners historically have been very bad at this in baseball, very bad. We'll see if that's the case next year. I mean, I don't think any one of those big clubs wants to see that happen. I don't think any other clubs want to see it happen. So I'm confident that I think they're going to be able to plow through because there's just so much money out there. There's just so much money being made right now. I can't see them risking. Let's go on strike. I just can't see the team. I can't see them risking it. So I don't think it'll be a thing, Abraham. I don't think there'll be a strike in a year, but I do think there'll be whispers about it.
I just feel like it's unsustainable the way it is. But if you're right, if they're just making money hand over fist, what's the
they
why
are.
change it?
Yeah, I mean they are, and you've still got ways that I mean it's funny. I look at the A's. Billy Ball lives. I mean, even though everyone's kind of playing the game that way, I mean, the Oakland A's still win. Oh, excuse me, the Sacramento A's, where they might remain, by the way. Sacramento A's have still won. I mean, you look at them over the past 10 years. Look at the Mariners over the past 10 years. And I think they've had a $100 million payroll in any of those years, and they've been in the postseason 3 or 4 times. So there's still a way for good management to prevail in baseball. But we haven't seen it here. We haven't seen it here yet.
You used to cover Sacramento sports. Did you ever think in a million years a MLB team would be there?
I wish I had it handy. We did a thing in 1985 called the Sacramento March on Baseball. This is when the Kings had come down from Kansas City, so we were full of it, full of Major League pride. And this gives you an idea of how long the A's have been in trouble, financially and with the Coliseum. This was 85, so this was 39 years ago. And we picked a game against the Yankees because we knew it would be on in New York. And 40,000 people drove from Interstate 80 to Sacramento to Oakland, which is about 100 miles, 90 miles.
Uh-huh.
We put up posters along the way that, we were doing a march on baseball. And then, everyone wore blue. And they had a big thing there. And baseball looked at it and, nodded and did whatever and didn't expand into anything like that. But they've made the point. My point of this is that Sacramento has been interested in this for 40 years. Okay. And I always thought that, when the Kings came there and had the success that they did in the NBA with a really mediocre team, and they sold out for, it took them 15, 20 years before, they stopped going to all those games when they were really losing a lot. Sacramento is such a small town that it's still, I mean, comparatively speaking, they still take a tremendous amount of pride in supporting those teams. So I think the A's are going to be supported. The minor league team there outdrew Oakland the last 2 or 3 years.
Really?
So, I mean, yeah. And they only hold 18,000 or something like that, but 17,000. But they sold out every game. So I'll tell you this, guys. I would not be shocked if by the end of the day, this guy Wilson is such a clown, running that organization. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
That he spent some money though on free agents this year, and Sacramento is going to roll out the red carpet for him. They're going to sell out every game. A team is going to go crazy. They're going to go crazy for that team there. And if Las Vegas is in a situation where if they want the team, they can build a stadium. But I don't think they like dealing with this guy. I don't think they like dealing with how he's gone about it so far. It's interesting that Vegas has not broken ground on a building yet. Haven't done anything like that yet. They're still planning on going there, but now it's like 3 years they're talking about. And in Vegas you can build a nice ballpark, based on what rent a car stuff for a weekend or something like that. So
yeah.
They haven't done it. That's telling to me. And Sacramento, I think, will try very hard to keep that team. And I think if that manages to happen, they'll be very successful there.
Right on.
I'm still upset they tore old Tropicana down. That's very sad to me.
Yeah, there's nothing left of old Vegas, brother.
True. Let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks. Year one under their new coach, Mike McDonald. How would you grade year one of the Mike McDonald era, Groz?
It was okay. I mean, I think that win 10 games was more than I expected. I expected it to be a 6 or 7 win team. So I think they exceeded expectations, in my opinion. I thought, when you look at first year head coaches, you look for some first year head coaches' potential problems, like are they bad running the clock? Are they bad? Is he having a problem dealing with all aspects of the team because he's used to being a coordinator and things like that? To tell you the truth, I didn't see any of that happen. So I thought that he was very, very accomplished, very ready for the job. I think their approach was good. They, again, 10-7 was not terrible,
Yeah.
and it normally would make you the postseason. If they made the postseason, they'd be an unqualified success the first season. So I would say that it was good. I give it a B. They got a long way to go, of course, and it's some difficult decisions to make here in this offseason. But I would be encouraged rather than discouraged at the start. I think this is a good start.
What do you think about his no-nonsense attitude as far as the linebackers weren't producing, so he got rid of them? Grubb wasn't producing, the offensive coordinator, so he got rid of them. Does that work in today's football?
It's a good question. I don't think it works with the players. I mean, you can do it on occasion, but we're not seeing enough. Maybe it's changing. Maybe I should take that back as the trade deadline has moved back a little bit. But you don't normally see many in-season trades in the NFL, so I don't think that's necessarily a way you're gonna continue to do it. So that's all right. But I don't mind. Look, and this is a John Schneider thing to me. I mean, John Schneider has not been afraid to walk away from mistakes, in the middle of the season. Percy Harvin, I mean, is a guy who immediately jumps to mind, who they were willing to, didn't like what he was doing, got rid of him. So, I don't think that's the way it's going to go in the future. But no, I don't think that's a big concern. And what was the first part of what you asked me?
Oh, just does that no nonsense attitude work?
Right. I think that it's a little more no nonsense to us than it is behind closed doors. He's 37 years old. I mean, he knows these players, and you watch. We get a chance to watch all those Hard Knocks, and you see what players and coaches are like in those circumstances. And you don't see anyone who's really a true no nonsense guy anymore. Who's barking at players, who hates their players, who's screaming at them, treat them all like dogs. They say Vince Lombardi did. I don't think that you see that with the modern athlete anymore. So you're definitely not going to see that with a young coach. So I don't think that doesn't strike me as a concern at all.
Cool.
What was it a mistake letting Ryan Grubb go though too soon? I was a fan. I thought they should have given him another chance. He made mistakes, but the guy was new in the NFL. What are your thoughts?
It's a great question. I mean, why do they want him? You want him because what you saw happen last year, and then because he can't immediately do it. His first year in the NFL, you let him go. That was one that was a head scratcher for me. Not that he was great, like you said. I mean, they had problems on offense that they did not get fixed throughout the course of the year. But this is a guy who was a nice hire when you hired him. I mean, you seem to really, we all saw what he had done with the Huskies to get him in the national championship game. This is a guy who's got a good grip of offensive football. Period. I don't know how in 1 year, unless there's something going on where he didn't have the respect of his players, something like that we wouldn't be aware of. That I almost feel like something like that has to be involved, something behind closed doors, because it did not make sense for me to let him go after 1 year. I mean,
good point.
We'll see where he lands, but that was surprising.
Do you have you been following the Pete Carroll thing down at Vegas? What does this mean? Does this mean that Jody Allen got it wrong in keeping Snyder, or is this book still to be written?
Still to be written. I mean, I don't think. Look, I think one of my favorite sayings is "Don't get tired of winning." I think it's a mistake franchises make all the time. You get tired of winning, and boom, you don't anymore because you blew it. Now, in the case of Pete Carroll and the Seahawks, the last 3 or 4 years they've been about a 500 club. There was some you can believe to some extent that maybe it had been it was long enough now. It had been over a dozen years. It's time to move on. It's normally time to move on in most organizations in circumstances like that. So I don't know that I think that was necessarily one equals the other. I do think that Pete Carroll could clearly still coach. Yeah. I didn't think that he had forgotten how to coach. I didn't think he lost his ability to communicate with players. I think he lost any energy or any enthusiasm for it. I mean, people say that because of his defensive numbers being so bad the last 4 years that you had lost maybe it wasn't up with the times, but I don't think that's true at all. I mean, any experience you have with Pete Carroll, that he knows exactly what's going on right now. And he was teaching at SC this past summer, so I mean, he's still dealing with college kids. So he didn't have that issues going for him at all. I think the Raiders made a great choice. I think it's not gonna be tough to be like Seattle was, because although he's going in with a new GM, which is similar to here, I mean, I think they're going to want the culture to change there. I don't know if he's going to be able to turn the team around as fast as he did here. And I say fast because it was 3 years, but it was a total turnover in personnel. Yeah. So I think what you're talking about in this circumstances, you're the Raiders. It's the first smart thing Mark Davis has really done. You want your culture is terrible. It's about losing. It's about losing badly. You got nothing to hang your hat on, and now you got a guy who is going to be an immediate culture change, immediate. And we saw what it was like when he was here, and free agents that wanted to come here, people wanted to come here and play for him. That's going to be the same. I mean, he's going to create an environment there that is fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes back to his USC roots and starts bringing Vegas stars to practice and things like that. And to me, he jumps on all that stuff. So I think now the Seahawks were fine in doing what they wanted to do. I mean, they didn't necessarily jump the gun there, but I think Pete Carroll had plenty of coaching left in him, and I think he's going to do well with the Raiders. I really do. And I think he's good for football.
Absolutely, including I'm looking forward to him going against Harbaugh again.
Yeah, I mean, talking about I'm gonna feel lonely and left out, man, because that was the coolest thing that we had here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How ironic that Harbaugh will be back in there a year earlier.
Very true. Very true. Quick question. Who has a better chance in staying in Seattle this offseason, DK or BK? When I mean BK, I mean Burger King franchise.
Boy, DK's a puzzle, isn't he? I mean, it's a really interesting conundrum they've got there because, they have him, obviously. They can, the thing you can do is you don't have to do anything. You've got him, and you can just move forward with him, and you kind of know what he can be and what he potentially can still be. And then maybe some of the downside stuff, which I think is getting a little bit more under control. You had an interesting move, though, last year where you got eclipsed in the locker room in terms of, with Smith and Jigba. But you know what? He didn't cause any problems about that. I didn't hear him bitching about getting the ball. I didn't hear any of that stuff from him. So, I mean, that's really the classic Devo wide receiver concern. You didn't hear it last year when he wasn't getting as many catches as he was getting before. I think that he's such a great athlete that you'd be better off keeping him. You're better off keeping him, but there's some things that have got to come with that. Some baggage that's got to come with that. You got to be sure that you can handle. And it's come up at some interesting times. I mean, he like Geno Smith took some of the heat for a couple plays where he just ran bad routes. Metcalf did towards the end of games, and I don't really blame Geno for that stuff. So you have a little bit of negative on one side, but you have a lot of positive on the other side. And another thing I always like to say is you don't get better by trading your best players. So, I think he is one of their best players. I think maybe not as productive this year as he was in previous years, but I think he's maturing. He's growing mentally every year as he's growing physically, and I for one would keep him. I think he's more valuable to the Seahawks than to let him go.
Right on.
Right on.
Hey, by the way, we noticed your Kraken hat.
Yeah,
and we saw you on the social medias with Gasman over.
Right.
Were you in a suite
last week?
Yeah.
We lucked out. Yeah, only lucked out. Got Todd Lewicki's suite.
Nice. Oh wow. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
The big cheese.
Well, you got your finger on the pulse of Seattle. Obviously, has Seattle taken to the Kraken?
They're taking to them, but have they taken to them? Parsing words, probably not. I think that the couple of things that they had to deal with. One was, I mean, it can't be overstated that they started when COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
So the first year it was screwed up. I mean, you had a year. You think about first years of other teams, and I mean, I go back to Sacramento. It's the first one I can think of. First year the Kings played in '85. They had a thing where they won their games every Saturday night, and people went nuts for it. It was just one of those goofy things that happened. And the Boston Celtics came in January, and they actually beat them on a Monday night. So my point was, you have innocent stuff. You have people understanding the team for the first time, and all of it is happening together. Everyone's in there at the same time, learning things together. You just did not have that the first year of the Kraken. I mean, they came in kind of quietly because of COVID, so it was not at all like hockey experiences like the first year. Had a good year the second year, and boom! I mean, you saw a glimpse of it right there. When that series with the Avalanche, the crowd here for Game 6 was spectacular. You had it going, and then you stubbed your toe last year. Now you spent some money this year, but you haven't quite turned around this year. So I think that they started behind the eight ball. Number one. I think number two is they're now getting their footing back. But if they win, they got in Todd Lewicki, I mentioned, they're probably the greatest sports executive outside of Gary Wright, or including Gary Wright, that we've ever had in this town. I mean, he is the best.
Yeah.
and he is brilliant at this stuff. And I mean, they're ready to jump. I mean, they're ready to be good, and all the stuff around. I don't know how many games you guys have gone to. I've only gone to a couple, but I mean, the presentation is spectacular. I mean, the arena is spectacular. Everything about it is great. So I think if they're winning, people will start going, and people start going. There'll be a little more understanding of it, and they'll get more on the scene. But I think it's been hamstrung a little bit by things that have been pretty much out of their control. And that was the starting during COVID. And like I said, contrasting with the Mariners of last year, they stubbed their toe last year, and they spent some money on free agency this year. Hadn't helped them yet, but we'll see what happens as the season goes on. Because hockey, as we all know, is the one sport where everything can change in the last month of the season. Everything. You get a hot goalie, and that's it. You're going to go to the finals. Maybe we've seen goalies carry teams that far. So you always have that puncher's chance in hockey more than any other game. But I think Seattle will take to them more when they start winning.
There was a great
article. I think they will win.
Awesome. There was a great article in the Times about how also going to Root was kind of a mistake.
Yeah. And I think the move they made was brilliant to leave them and then put the games on Prime, put the games on Kong. I think that's going to set a lot of people up around the country for doing it that way. I think it's a very smart move by them. Minnesota Twins, I think, saw doing something like that. I think Ryan Divish published something about that today. That they put all their games on a service for $99 or something like that. So I thought that was really smart for them to do that, to make their games more. Look, people got to see it. I mean, you want to have all your games on, as many games as you possibly have on, and you want to have them for as many eyes as you possibly can have them for, and that's not what Root was about. So I mean, I think that it was a really good move for them, and it'll be one that'll bear fruit in years to come.
Right on. I got to ask, with the AFC and NFC championships this weekend, who's going to win Groz and who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, I say this about Kansas City. I mean, the question you got to ask yourself is, are the Kansas City Chiefs the greatest team in NFL football history? Because in 50 some odd years, no team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think the last team to win more than 3 championships in a row with the Green Bay Packers. I'm pretty sure. I'm actually certain about that. In the 60s, it's the last time that's happened, when it was just NFL, and the AFL was still going on at that point. So I mean, a couple of those years that might not have happened if the AFL players were in there. But having been said, it's been since the Super Bowl era started, no team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls. So unless you believe Kansas City is the best team in the last 50 years, I don't see how they win it. Now, saying that, here they are, they're playing the championship game at home. And, they might, who knows if they're going to wind up with the Super Bowl. So they obviously still got a chance for it. But I think that, whether it's Buffalo who gets them this weekend, which wouldn't surprise me, or if it's the Eagles who get them in the Super Bowl, although I think the Commanders are a great story, and I would love to see them in there. I think that the Chiefs are going to lose. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be 3-time Super Bowl champions. So I think that I like the Eagles to beat the Bills in the Super Bowl. And I think Saquon Barkley has done it right this year. The Eagles have done it right this year. They've won, 14 of the last 16 or something like that. They've all got Super Bowl experience, it seems like, on that team. So, they got to get past the Commanders, though, who got the most amazing X factor I've ever seen. I mean, I don't think any of us have ever seen a rookie quarterback come in like Jaden Daniels. I mean, you've seen rookie quarterbacks come in and play well, but not like this.
Yeah.
5 last minute comebacks. The fact that he's not a passenger in this thing at all. He's the conductor. I mean, he is the most important player on that team. And you can't. I look at him and I'm like, how's he going to get any better? This guy is a rookie. I mean, is he going to get better?
Right.
He's going to be way beyond Mahomes. If he's going to get if he's going to be 10, 12, 5, 10 times better than he is right now, which he probably will be when he really understands the game. So yeah. I think he's going to make it really tough on the Eagles. That's going to be a real big X factor. And if he gets into the Super Bowl, I don't think he'll be fazed by it. I mean, I think they'd be a gigantic underdog, but I do think that whoever gets in the Washington Philadelphia game will win the Super Bowl if the Kansas City Chiefs are there. Like I said, my main prediction is that Kansas City will not win the 3rd straight Super Bowl.
Right on.
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Is it finally time, Groz, to have a new discussion about the NFL MVP? When Jalen Hurts got injured, Saquon Barkley carried the Eagles to that win. Why isn't he in the discussion for the MVP?
It's a good question. I mean, I think maybe it's just the which seems to be changing a little bit, the long-standing, now 10, 15 years standing, look at running back is not an important position. I mean, not nearly as important as the other ones on the field. And you've kind of seen that when they've expressed the value in arbitration of NFL running back, what the average salary is for them, and it's gone down. I don't know how many offensive positions have gone down, but that one has. Barkley and Derrick Henry, I mean, another example of it, where he was running with Lamar, and they had a great running attack there in Baltimore. I think so. Part of it, I think, has been just dissing running backs, and I do think that Barkley's season is going to change some of that thinking. And I do think the game is, now we see it always adjust to what's going on. I think we've seen the passing game get to be what it is, and now I think you're seeing teams. It's easier to run. It's more effective to run nowadays because we got all these guys playing nickel and dime, and so I think we're going to see a swing back to running attacks. And when we do that, I see some variety in the MVP choice. Otherwise, it's always going to be a quarterback.
Okay. I got to ask. I know we're nearing the end, but I got to ask about my Wazoo boys. Your thoughts in the NIL, Groz? I mean, we lost 30 plus players. We lost our coach. We lost one of the best quarterbacks, in America. Yeah. Are we doomed in other small colleges like us because of this NIL and transfer portal BS?
The Cougars got screwed, and it really depressed the hell out of me. But I think that they'll bounce back. I don't think that you're in a situation that other teams are necessarily in. I think there's still national cachet to Washington State because of some of the teams that Mike Leach had there and Mike Price had there. They're still there. They've been proactive in trying to reset up a Pac-12. And look, you know what? I mean, I would not be surprised at all if one day, in the not too distant future, if UCLA, USC, Cal, Stanford back over there, playing in the Pac-12. I mean, why would that shock anyone when there's literally no guardrails up there or anything now? And the thing is about Washington and Oregon, and it's going to really affect them in the next couple of years, is they're not making anywhere near the money the Big Ten teams are making. So they're going to really struggle. I mean, this is just the beginning. Washington, and I'm talking about every other sport, mainly in basketball, it's going to be really difficult for those schools. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an exodus come back to the Pac-12 at some point in time. But in the meantime, I think Washington State has I like their hire. I mean, you bring the transfer. They got to fix that transfer portal. They got to take away the one that happens at the end of the season. They just have to do that between the bowl games. And you have one. You're not gonna make it go away, Brian. It's not going away. And nor do I necessarily think it should. I don't think NILs are a bad thing either. I think that they've taken the time to regulate them a little bit. They could have been a little bit better, and they probably will at this point. But no, I don't think Washington State is screwed because of that. I think they're a stronger program than that, and I'm hanging in there with them because I used to broadcast on the Cougar games too, so I consider them very special to me as well. And I think that they really showed their stuff last year. I thought, and I think will continue to show so. So I believe in the Cougars.
Awesome, right on. That gives me hope too. Appreciate that.
I got a question about sports on streaming. And while professional wrestling isn't sport, it's sports entertainment.
Sure.
I really feel like it's making Netflix viable as a replacement for regular broadcast or cable TV. I noticed the MLS the MLS moved over to Amazon TV, I believe it is, and
I think it's Apple. I think it's Apple actually.
Or Apple, sorry, yeah. But NFL's on Amazon, and
right.
It's happening, isn't it? It's
yeah,
the takeover. Yeah. The takeover's happening. It's not just a novelty, I think.
Well, here's the thing. Netflix was the holdout. Netflix was the ones who said, and they said it loudly, that we're staying away from sports. We're not going to do that. That's why they made the moves they made before that, and really loaded up on movies and first run stuff, and didn't have many. You get a commercial free service from them, and it served them well. Then on the other hand, that they saw about how much money is out there to be made, and that they had the NFL, they had a wildly successful game, so they're going to be a factor in that going forward. I think Netflix does some of the shows they do, like I don't know if you've seen them. They've done full seasons on, I think it's Full Swing on the PGA Tour, and they've done one on on NFL wide receivers during the season, quarterbacks. They do these incredible season-long anthology things that are just really, really well done. So they've really taken a big step towards sports, and you're exactly right. Streaming is where it's going. I mean, it's going to all be there soon, much sooner than we think, I believe. And it's we'll see how that shakes out in terms of how they're going to put that together. But it's definitely happening there, and just you rest assured that'll be the case. That Netflix is fighting for a spot at the table too, so it's going to be interesting to see where they go if they just try and compete for football, because actually football is the holy grail, of course, for everyone. And
getting the WWE seemed to explode in popularity and subscriber base, though.
Sure. Oh no, that was definitely big. It was definitely big, and that live entertainment was something that they were really going away from. And then I don't know if it was the Chris Rock concert a couple years ago or something like that, but their mind changed on it. And wrestling, has been for 30 years. It's been one of the top attendance, viewed shows on cable and before that over the air TV for forever. It's been a consistent ratings winner for 4 or 5 decades now. So yeah, I think people were surprised when they got it because it kind of signaled a new attitude from them, and there's no question that is pushing them further. And Netflix has got unlimited resources, unlimited. So I mean, the things that they might add to the WWE are going to be really impressive for you guys, I imagine.
Right on. Abe brought up the WWE, so and you told us some great stories about reffing for wrestling WWF back in the days. With that said, would you be okay if I emailed Triple H and next time they're in town, if he agrees to it, to let you come down and be a guest referee?
It was so funny, man, when I did that. I'm trying to think. I must have done. I'm not sure if I did any of his matches or not, but I mean, it was just such a funny experience for me to do because the way it was then. This is when Hulk Hogan, was starting, so it was really just taking off. And so they were playing. This was right before they went to the cables, right before they went to cable TV and became even more big. But the WrestleMania had started at this point. They were on local television stations affiliates, so they'd come. Every year they'd come and they do a little party for them for sponsors and things like that. And then they bring cards by every 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks, you had 3 tours going on at the time, and you'd have a group of guys in there. And so I did the ring announcing for them because that's what they did. They just found local guys to do that for them, and it was hysterical. They paid cash, and it was old wrestlers were running the shows. So kind of like Triple H is now in the larger scheme of things, but just the individual shows. That when they went out, for 6-7 weeks on the road, he had guys running the show. So it was Chief Jay Strongbow, who by the way wasn't called Chief, even though it's not his name. And he would give me $100 bill and a $50 bill. And he said, "All right, stay out of the way, kid." So it was found money, and it was a lot of fun to do. So I think those innocent days, unfortunately, are probably over. And I don't think that is a very slick, very well produced, very very professionally done thing. So I mean, those days are over with. But I mean, I was glad I had a chance to be a part of them. It was exciting. I can always picture in my mind standing there in the ring when I introduced Hulk Hogan. First time he was in Sacramento. And people just screaming. They're actually fencing around the ring because they were worried about people pushing up to it, and people are just screaming, yelling, screaming. Not even the Hulk, just ah! Never seen anything like it before. So it was. It would be fun to do that once again, but I don't think they want to have me this time.
Well, I get you, but I'm going to try. The campaign starts once we finish our podcast. I'm going to try, Groz.
All right, man.
All right. Well, we're towards the end of our show, and I want to send out a huge thank you to Groz for being on with us. We always appreciate it. Every time you're on with us, little guys, it adds so much to our lives and our knowledge base.
It does.
It really does. I do mean it. Like it's been great.
Keep my name out there.
And and I just want to end the show like we always do, and that's with shout outs. Keep the spirit of the show positive and give some love to somebody out there who could use some. Brian, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'm going to go the shout out next Thursday. The Aquas are having a hot stove banquet with Dan Wilson as the MC. I just want to give a shout out to them with their season coming up. 30 years we'll be celebrating, and a shout out as well to my boss from the Seattle Sports Union who got me a ticket. So we're looking forward to a great time.
And I want to give I'm going to give a shout out to Brent Hall and his racing crew. Brent, of course, is the first Black Unlimited hydroplane racer in this area, and he is starting up the next season, and hopefully we'll get to see him again in the pits. at Seafair. Groz, over to you for shout out.
I'm going to shout out to my little brothers. My brother Scott, who's living in Northern California now, and my brother Todd, who is living in Portland with his 3 daughters. I'm blessed to have great little brothers and great family, and I never tell them enough that how much I appreciate them and how much I love them. So shout out to my little brothers.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank everybody out there for watching us here on the Seattle Sports Union podcast. Check us out on YouTube as well. Check us out online at Spotify, iTunes, and Soulman, apparently Amazon Music. I did not expect us to appear on that channel, but that's great. I love that. As well, check us out on SeattleSportsUnion.com as well. Check us out on our social media. And that's at Seattle Sports U on Twitter or X and Facebook. On behalf of the Groz, Dave Grosby, Brian the Soulman, Solack, and myself, Abraham DeWeese. We'll see you guys next time.